Here's how you can instantly get better aim in Marvel Rivals. Today we're going to go over settings, configs, and even a routine that instantly levels up your aim. So let's dive into it. Starting off, before you do anything else, you're going to want to make sure that your settings are correct. We already covered the best settings for the game when it comes to graphic settings and whatnot. And it's important that you set the settings beforehand, because when you get to another step in this whole setup to get better aim, if you haven't done this already, then all the settings you do afterwards will not save. So even though I'm going to add timestamps, it's a good idea to just check this part first. So assuming you've gone through my settings, a few things you want to look out for here in the graphics that I just want to mention is frame generation mode. You want to set that to off. Consider low latency mode to NVIDIA Reflex low latency if you can. And then make sure you have a consistent frame rate overall. It's pretty simple. Not much else needs to be done here. And once you've set all of these settings, then we can finally turn off mouse acceleration, because Marvel Rivals, as with many other games, especially UE5 games for some reason, they come with mouse acceleration on. If you guys don't know what mouse acceleration is, it's basically something that makes your swipes, your mouse feel different every swipe you make. As in, the faster you, if I flick faster, then my sensitivity gets higher. If I flick slower, then my sensitivity is slower, which means that my mouse in the physical space has a different feel. So I can move my mouse, 10 centimeters or however long, like this much. If I move it really fast, it's gonna swipe my character a lot farther compared to if I move it pretty slowly, in which case it might just go here. So what you can do to get a more consistent game, I don't know why they don't have a setting for this in game, is you have to actually download or make a change in a config file for the game. Now you might have seen how to do this already, but I'm gonna tell you guys that haven't heard about this, how to fix this yourself, so you also can have a more consistent aim. And I'm going to cover more ways you can improve your aim afterwards, but this is the most important part. So starting off, what you want to do is hop into your app data folder. That's under your user and then app data. You want to go into local, Marvel, saved, config, Windows, and then you're going to have game user settings.ini. Open that bad boy up, and at the bottom here, you want to put these in here. I'm going to put a pinned comment, so you can just copy paste. Script engine, input settings, enable mouse smoothing false, and bViewAccelerationEnabled false. This will make your aim feel a lot snappier, assuming you have a consistent frame rate. Once you've added these settings, a very important step is that you need to go in here again, and you need to right-click it, properties, and you need to set this to read only. If you don't have it set to read only, once you start the game, it's going to override it. One important distinction to be made as well is that this is what I mentioned previously. By setting this read only, your game can no longer overwrite your settings, which means that any changes you make to your settings after this point in time will make no difference. So if you want to change your settings to something, you're going to have to go in here and turn off read only and then change it, and you're going to have to put this back in here. So don't forget about that, or you might accidentally end up wiping your settings or something like that, which you don't want. That's just the first part. Again, it will make your aim a lot more snappier, which will set you up to aim even better. But we have a lot more things to cover, so we're just gonna dive into that. The next part I want to mention is that Marvel Rivals, as most of our third-person shooters, is a third-person shooter. What this means is that your bullets will go from your character towards your crosshair. I've covered this in a previous video many months ago, where in most first-person shooters, your bullets go straight from the middle of the screen to where you are pointing. So if I point right at Luna Snow, that would shoot her in the head. But seeing as this is a third-person shooter, the bullets go from your gun towards the crosshair. It creates a imaginary line from the muzzle of your weapon to the crosshair. This might seem pretty unnecessary to mention, but it'll make a lot more sense in a little bit. For example, if I would aim to the left of Luna Snow here, she has a kind of big hitbox, or I have a big particular hitbox, so I'll end up hitting her. That's what to be expected. But if I aim to the right of Luna Snow, that is also a hit. Even worse, it's not even a headshot, because I'm aiming, she's slightly taller than I am. It's a body shot. I have to aim above her, so the imaginary line between my muzzle and the crosshair crosses through her head, and now it's a headshot. Knowing about this will make a very big difference to leading targets. I guess over most distances, it doesn't really matter too much. You can just kind of, track them, and the crosshair will be accurate. But if you shoot somebody very close, it will help you a lot knowing that yes, you can aim right on the head, but you can also aim on the side. You'll have a little bit more forgiveness there. So as long as you aim right on the enemy or a little bit to the side, you have much more to work with, and then you can kind of just end hitting these shots. The second problem with there being a third-person aim and the way to do it with the bullets leaving your muzzle is that when you're fighting enemies that are taller, let's say Groot, hitting headshots won't be as easy. Okay, let me switch here to someone shorter to really show you guys the problem. Like, obviously we're exaggerating problem. You will feel this no matter who you play. But here you go. When you're underneath a target, this means that you won't hit a headshot even though you're aiming at their head. The imaginary line from the weapon to the magneto right now is not hitting the head. It is hitting here somewhere. The same goes when you shoot downwards, obviously, and the same goes when you shoot on the side. But just knowing about this and knowing about the imaginary line and adjusting for the imaginary line will make it a lot more easier to hit shots, especially when a target is very, very close. That's when this effect is the most exaggerated. And again, when they're really far away, you don't really notice it. So moving on then, now that we've cleared the bases, we've cleared the settings, we've cleared a very important distinction to be made, seeing as this is a third-person shooter, not a first-person shooter. We're gonna move on. We're gonna be talking about a great routine that you guys can do to get better aim. I also want to do a quick shout out. You can also look into upgrading your equipment. That's, always a good idea to do. If you do want to upgrade your equipment, you can also check out Wallhack SB4. It's a glass mouse pad, absolutely amazing. Use code ottr, you get 10% off. And you can also check out Logitech if you're interested in a good starter mouse that gets the job done. I recommend, for example, the G Pro Wireless or the Superlight. Use code ottr10 off of the Logitech website. You get 10% off of that. Just wanted to plug those real quick before we talk about this routine right here. This is a really good routine, and normally I would advocate for pulling up aim labs, but the problem with aim labs, especially when it pertains to third-person shooters, is that aim labs it has a third-person mode, but one, it doesn't really nail the feel of the game. Two, the bullets don't go from the actual hero to the crosshair. It seems to just hit the middle of the screen, so you can't lead a shot to the right of their enemy or the target. And three, most maps in aim labs or Kovacs or whatever, while there is a setting in the game that allows you to go third person, most of the maps don't have it enabled. So even though there are probably thousands of different scenarios in aim labs that you can practice on, most of them don't actually work for this game. You'll still get good aim practicing that way. You'll get good mouse control and ability to, see what you're shooting at much more easily, but it won't actually be the most efficient way you can improve. What I've found to be the second most efficient way to improve is just playing the game. It's a very high action game. If you just play Marvel Rivals, you're gonna naturally get better over time. But you can isolate yourself to a situation where you don't have to worry about your positioning, abilities, cooldowns, and space by hopping into the fire range, into the practice range where we are right now. This is at the bottom of this whole stair thing. And we have two things here, two terminals, the control switch and parameters. If I hop into parameters here, you can choose hero. What I like to do is choose either Luna, or what a teammate of mine does is he does Spider-Man. We're gonna do Luna because I think she's actually harder to hit. We're gonna set the generate type to random, and then we're gonna set it at random range. I like to do mid-range. It comes down to where your weaknesses are. The farther away an enemy is, the more difficult it will be to hit, but I think mid-range covers most scenarios you will be shooting at. As for movements, you turn this on, turn it to random. Movement speed, I set it to super fast. If you're struggling with hitting your targets, you can always lower the speed or whatever and gradually work your way up. And yeah, that's about it. And hit apply. All good. So I'm starting with Hela here. And it's a very simple reason. I'm starting with Hela. She is, well, obviously very good now. It's good to practice her. Oh, I need to warm up. I haven't played with the new config of the mouse moving yet. Just start with Hela, just practice a little bit, shoot your targets a little bit. I'm already working some movement in here. Might be a good idea if you feel more comfortable moving. Do that. Oh my, this is embarrassing. I recently started with this routine. I have not used it yet. It will take some time to get very comfortable with it. But it is incredibly good at getting you warmed up to play, and as well, but also make you more consistent aiming in general. So you just keep doing this for maybe a few minutes, whatever you feel like. Put on some podcasts. You can play, you get 60 seconds each. You can compare your score, see what you feel comfortable with. That's obviously far from a record. It is what it is. So what I do is I start with Hela because she's a hit scan and she's a very common hero. What you can also do, and probably should do, is switch over to Punisher, who's also a hit scan, but he's a tracker. Yeah, this is the scars from the mouse excel hitting. Dear God. And the smoothing. And you can spend a ton of time here in the range. There's people who do this in Apex all the time. You just become firing range demons. Really comes down to what you need to do. Or it really comes down to what you want to practice. It's just probably the most efficient way to get used to shooting inside of the engine, getting the feel of the game right, and so much more, while also being able to focus on the game specifically. So now that we've gotten Punisher out of the way, now that we've gotten Halo out of the way, two of the hit scans, I could probably warm up even more, right? You could spend a lot of time warming up here, but for the sake of the video, we're just gonna do these two. This is something I recommend everyone does, even if you don't play DPS, even if you don't play these heroes, just because they are consistent aim, and you just want to make sure that you're locked in fully. Now, I've been playing a lot of tank recently, so once I feel comfortable with my aim, what I normally do is I switch to a tank, for example, Magneto. We turn it back on, and we do the exact same thing. Also move around a little bit, you know, and just keep practicing. You want to get used to the projectiles, obviously, because there's 2 steps of it, right? Like I said, we're warming up the actual aim. Oh, it's gonna be hard to predict a completely random NPC. Keep that in mind. It's different predicting an NPC to a player, but you'll still get used to the projectiles. You'll still get used to the feel of the engine. Just wait for him to jump if you want to. If you want to make it really easy, but try to keep shooting. Don't just go for the easy, go for the hard shots. That's the way you improve. And you can do this with every hero. You can do this with every ability. I pulled up Hulk before my recent tournament, and I just kind of practiced Hulk in the same way. See, I was putting the line between me and the Luna here, which ended up being me hitting her, even though I was aiming to the right of her. It's all about knowing how to adjust within the engine. Let's do on Hulk just to show you guys what I did when I was on Hulk. And in this case, I was actually turning on my no ability cooldown. And I was just kind of trying to practice the snipe. There's a very important ability to hit if you're playing Hulk, is you can shut down an enemy's play completely. So having a consistent aim with it helps a lot. And when it says you're moving around a lot in Hulk, it makes sense to move around a lot when you're doing it too. You can do this with any ability you struggle with. You can do this with any ability of your heroes, like your favorite hero's kit. Whatever works for you. You can even practice the jumps if you really want to. The potential doing practicing like this is infinite. You can really just do whatever you want. Let's say I want to practice my juggling. Let's see if we can get a... And you can just keep on going. It's a great tool that I recommend anyone practices. I would probably spend at least 10 minutes a day beforehand. You could go up to an hour, but I think you would lose your focus by then. And I think just by doing a little bit, a few minutes a day, not even on your favorite hero, just on, for example, Punisher and Hela, that will immediately net you results, which will make you track and hit a lot more shots than you would initially. But yeah, hopefully this will help you guys pop off and hit more shots in Marvel Rivals. If it helped, let me know in the comments. And as usual, thank you guys for watching. Check out the banger on the screen. It is a banger. And I'll see you all next time. Okay, bye-bye.